Boom, guys, how's it going? We are focusing up on the facts, right? We are focusing up on the facts, and there could be a lot of stuff wrong that you might not just know. So here are 5 important things to keep in mind for this week right before quadruple witching day. So we are focusing up here on RGME, Common DD Fact Checker. There are several things going on in this community that is used for DD, but we, for the long haul, we want to be able to understand the majority of the DD out there is fundamentally solid. But here are some of the issues that he has, right? SSR, price correlations between ETFs and GME, SEC involvement with synthetic long and short positions, and through ETF and AP, ETF rebalancing, and finally the infamous, the coveted, the SR NSCC 2021-801. Huh? Any questions? I didn't think so. Number 1, short sale restrictions, the SSR. Well, something that we've been talking about a lot with Hey It's Pixel and Renzel and everybody that seems to care about being on the SSR. While in theory, a lot of you think that if the SSR is triggered, it will keep the price afloat due to the ability to restrict short sales on downticks, this is true. What it does not prevent is the selling of actual shares on downtick. So this once again is used to prevent a dog pile of using a tactic like shorting that hurts the stock price and essentially just predates on the stock when it is injured, like an injured buffalo. It doesn't prevent people just straight up selling the stock, right? Either whales or you, paper handlers. That's why we always get scissors in the comments and scissors in the chat to cut out those paper hands. However, that is true. If the SSR is triggered, there are many ways that a institution can still drive the price down, and this is one of them. Just straight up selling shares. There are completely legal ways to buy shares and hedge purchase share with put options to reduce exposure for loss while selling shares, right? Buying shares and puts at the same time, waiting for the price to go up. Sell all of your shares, cash your put out at the bottom, and buy more shares on the way up. So relying on the fact that SSR is in place does not prevent price action from heading down quickly and sets people up for unrealistic expectations for a magically propped up price, right? Make sure your expectations are not crazy high just because the SSR has been triggered for the day and the rest of tomorrow. Number 2, I've seen a lot of comparisons between a certain ETF and GME correlations. We even covered a very long DD about that earlier. While the price charts do look very similar, there is a reason behind this. A certain ETF is a weighted ETF, meaning that out of a pile of different underlying assets, they should all equal to 1% of total package in order to reduce wild fluctuations of price and be a more stable asset. Since GME's volatility and price has gone up, the portion of the ETF that is supposed to be in GME has become unbalanced. What's supposed to be 1% of the package is now leading to 12 to 20%. Imagine if you're like, hey, this package is supposed to be, an assortment of fruits and vegetables, but it is 12 to 20% packing peanut. So enjoy this fruit basket. It's 20% packing peanuts. This defeats the purpose of an ETF and exposes it to volatility. Anytime GME swings, the ETF swings with it. This is no coincidence, but the actual structure of the ETF itself. So fact checked. Make sure that you focus up on how an ETF actually relates to the stocks within it, and especially the ETFs right now that have a bulk ton of GME. Number 3, the SEC should do something about this, please, SEC. The SEC is more than aware of the creation of synthetic longs and shorts through ETFs. In fact, the last time I covered synthetic longs, we had an article of the SEC's from 2013. They were like, this is exactly how you do a synthetic long. Don't do it. And yet, you guys know this, right? You guys been following the show. You guys been smashing that subscribe button already so that you learn about this stuff early. We've been talking about the XRT rebalancing weeks in advance before Pixel's DD. We were talking about synthetic longs weeks in advance before everyone's been blathering on about it. You guys know that we have news to share. So once more, while it sounds like something that can be used against shareholders forever, there are limitations. If a share is made for market making purposes, it can be synthetically made for up to 6 days, T+6, before it needs to be secured in order to prevent a failure to deliver. Here's a link that provides more context than I'm willing to type out on the topic. Once more, this is just a fact check that kind of gives an idea of like, is the SEC going to step in for this particular manipulation of the market? Maybe not, because this is kind of how the share works. So they would have to basically unearth the entire process and say, you know what, the system is broken, and the fact that we thought synthetic longs and shorts were supposed to help is kind of our bad. Sorry. Thank you, Siete, for the super. Now, number 4. To help reduce the volatility in an ETF that was listed above in section 2, once a quarter, the ETF will do a rebalance. In order to do a rebalance for an asset that has risen to a large proportion of the basket, the ETF maker would have to sell a large portion of their shares used to make creation redemption baskets for the ETF in order to bring the portion back down to 1%. Essentially, this is like, look at all these packing peanuts in my fruit basket. I'm going to have to get rid of them. So now you're thinking, well, selling shares will bring down the price, right? This all depends on short interest of the certain ETF. If the ETF is heavily shorted, shorts are going to have to cover their positions in order to return shares back to the ETF maker so that he can sell them. Essentially, you look at the list of fruits in your fruit basket on a list, and you say, seems like it's 20% packing peanuts, got to get rid of them. And then you go over to the guy who is supposed to give you the fruit basket, and they say, oh yeah, those packing peanuts don't even exist. I'm going to have to buy a bunch of packing peanuts just to get rid of them, and that is going to cause upwards price action when all of those shorts get covered. So that's why XRT rebalancing day is so important, and that's why we've been watching this particular week for a long time. If you see a volatile price movement surrounding rebalance day, it could be shorts of the ETF buying shares to return, then selling them in order to rebalance ETF. A good thing out of this massive buying and selling is that the ETF portfolio share count is reduced, and this reduces the amount of shares available to short through synthetic longs and short process, right? Therefore, it's not a surefire thing. Change your expectations. However, this is going to be monumentally in a vacuum by itself, right? And finally, the SR NSCC 2021-801. There's a lot of hype around this from, as you know, but it's potentially far from being implemented. Right now, it is an ANPRM. It's an advance notice of a proposed rule making. It's basically saying, we think we're going to do this. Hopefully it gets done very soon. Hey, we've got a problem. We need some feedback to figure out how we're going to fix this. Once they get feedback, it goes to an NPRM, which is a notice of proposed rule making. This gets logged into the Federal Register saying that it's a rule that's going to be implemented and is subject to public opinion. Depending on public opinion, there can be public hearings on matters and amendments that needs to be addressed. You know how long this stuff can take. Once amendments are addressed in a Federal Register, a decision is made if no further objections, and they post a decision of final rule in the Federal Register, and the rule can be implemented at any time. And here's a link to the Federal Register with abbreviations to help. To finalize all of this, while some of this stuff above can seem disheartening, you need to prepare yourself with information. Data is king. Additionally, the bottom line of all of this is that there is still a huge group of retail investors that just like the stock and want to see the company not shorted into the ground, right? We've had bulls, we've had bears, but Wall Street, just like Trace had his guest on the show and said, hey, it's time for the apes to diamond hand and change history. Every day you buy and hold shares becomes another Lego in the foot of short positions, and that in itself is well worth it to me. Remember, all shorts have to cover at some point. Vala Margulis, all shorts must cover. And why make them walk on 2 feet of hot coals when you can make it walk on 50 miles? Well, we're getting a little impatient, but I think the point still lasts. If you guys like that video because that taught you a little bit something about fact checking, making sure you got your details right, making sure that you understand that even this DD could be taken with a bucket of salt, then make sure you smash that like button and have already hit that subscribe and notification bell. These people make this show possible. I really like them. They really are cool people. These are the people right here in the Moon Platoon and the Space Legends here as finally the really cool Gorillionaire Tear. I want to thank all of you that have supported, no matter how much you guys have helped, super chats, just sending us a nice letter, talking in the live chat, and those of you who have been part of the Moon Platoon for a long time, I salute you. Thank you, and I'll see you on the moon.